All right, guys, back again with a special interview with the man himself, Matt Hawkins. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good.
So, if anyone who doesn't know who Matt is, Matt was actually one of the first people there at Image, working with Image with Lee McFarlane. Now, how did you even get into Image in the first place?
At a signing like this, one of the original signings, I walked up and met Rob Liefeld and asked him for a job, and he hired me.
Just like that?
It was a weird time.
So, if we tried that now, would we actually succeed with that same strategy?
Probably not with me, because we're not hiring, but they were in a massive expansion. You know, Image was doing so well, and all the individual studios were doing really crazily well, and they just needed bodies to do jobs.
Yeah.
And they hired a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't make it. You know what I mean? But they were just trying to get people in, and I stuck. I worked with Rob for 6 years. Then I went off on my own and did Lady Pendragon, my first book I ever wrote in 1996.
Awesome.
And it led to my starting working at Top Cow in 1998, and I've been at Top Cow ever since. So what is that? That's 18 years.
18. Wow. So, what got you into comics in the first place? What was your entry into comic books?
Meeting Rob at that signing. I'd never read a comic before that.
Ever? So what was the pitch like? Was it like, hey, Rob, I want a job? And he was like, sure, why not?
I went to that signing because my nephew, who's 13 years younger than me, was a comic fan, and he asked me to take him. And so I was just out of college. I was 22. He was 8, I think. And he said, can you take me to this comic book signing? I'm like, sure. So we went to the signing. I didn't know anything about anything.
Yeah.
And I waited in this long line, got up. I was working at a bank while I was working on my master's degree at school. I was going to UCLA, and I hated working at the bank, and I was just really busy. And here were these young guys with these really good-looking girls, and they looked like they're having this great time. And
they brought out models?
No, they were like girlfriends and stuff.
I was going to say.
I'm like, this looks really cool. I want to be part of this,
Yeah.
And so and Jonathan Sabal, who's an inker who works for DC Comics now, was in front of me in the line for 2 hours while I was waiting. So I was talking to him the entire time, and he showed his art to Rob right in front of me, and Rob hired him on the spot. And it was kind of a weird thing, because I don't think I would have done this if I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
It was just, he showed him his art. Rob said, "Oh, you're hired." And then I'm like, and I was the next guy, and I looked at Rob Liefeld, and I said, I didn't even know who he was. I said, I can't draw, but are you looking for anyone for anything else? And he's like, yeah, we need someone to do letters pages and some marketing work. Can you do that? I'm like, yeah. I didn't know anything. I was studying physics, and I was
coming real handy.
Yeah, and I was working at a bank, so physics and banking and comic books, don't really all merge. So
you watch people's money fall through their pocket, basically.
But no, he told me he hired me because he felt like I had some spunk, and I still hang out with the guy 23 years later. He's doing real well with his Deadpool money,
Yeah, Deadpool money's gonna be with it for a while. So I know you have a drift here. What are some of the comics that you're working on right now? How did you even get into a drift? I noticed.
A drift's a video game.
The Oculus?
Yeah, it's Oculus Rift launch game. A buddy of mine, Adam Orth, made the game and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a comic to help him promote the game, so I did that as a favor.
Okay, so what was the writing process like for the game? Was it like, did you know what the game was going to be? Did you have
by the time I was doing the comic, the game story and all that had been, and all the characters had been sort of fleshed out. So it was fairly easy, and Adam had kind of an idea of what he wanted already in the comic. So I just worked with him, and we wrote the comic together, and it came out really well.
So where does the physics degree go now?
Well, Adrift and books like Think Tank, which is probably my favorite book I work on, is a book about science. It's about a scientist. It's about a DARPA research scientist who developed weapons for the military. Symmetry is a science fiction utopian future. And so a lot of stuff I do in my books is reality-based. And even in the back of Think Tank, I have these things called science classes where, I'll indicate what the real science is. And that's based off some of the things. This one has a shorter one because this was a debut issue.
So you're teaching people actual science thinking it's a comic book?
Yeah. Like if you look at in the back of the Human Genome Project was always a favorite of mine. You go in the back, like it's a full-on comic, but then you get to the back and it's got, here's the racial constructs with genetics, and various things and different weapon systems. And the thing about the weapon systems and everything in this is everything's based on reality. Scientists I know and talk to and different things that you can do in applications. So that's one of the things I pride myself on is you can be entertained, but you can learn something too.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what's coming out for you in the next year and a half, 2 years? Anything you're working on? Yeah,
I'm continuing to do Think Tank. I'm working on another book called Symmetry. I'm working on a new book called Control the Clock. And I'm working on a lot of stuff. I'm working on a book called Swing. So it's about swingers. About a couple that are swingers.
Exclusive.
So it's like A lot of different types of stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, pleasure to meet you, and
Good to meet you as well.
glad to meet someone from Image.
Thank you very much.